Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, Wootini over at GayGamer.net, here with another weekly video podcast. As expected, I have not been playing any new games. I'm still playing Dragon Age, which is still awesome, and except for I just finished the mission where you go to the ball and there's all that political backstabbing and plotting, and you have to investigate and try to find out all the secrets and everything. And I have to say, I didn't quite follow exactly what was going on. I found all this evidence, and it seems like everybody was kind of horrible, but it's politics, so that's to be expected, I suppose. And in the end, I had enough evidence that I could basically force everyone to work together, and no blood need be shed. I suppose that's the good outcome? I don't know. Because I feel like if you don't find a certain piece of evidence, you'll think that this person is perfectly fine, but then you find that evidence and then you realize, oh no, they're not. So I don't know how that plays out, but that was a little complicated, and I rather would have just been killing things. Oh, and in other news, a few times I have lost my stylus on my 3DS, and then I found it like in my bag or whatever. But this time I lost my stylus, and now I can't find it anywhere, and I think I really did lose it, and it fell out onto the floor of the subway train, and I'll never see it again. Unfortunately, I went to Nintendo World, and they don't really just sell replacement styli. They have like kits that come with screen protectors and like a big pen stylus and a small stylus, and I was like, no, I want a white stylus for a 3DS XL that I can slide right back into mine. It has to be white so that it matches the rest of my Animal Crossing 3DS. So I'm gonna have to like look on Amazon or something and see if somebody else makes these. I also checked at Best Buy, but there was nothing in Best Buy either. And the reason that I was in Best Buy to check for these styli is because I read online that Best Buy was having a big sale on used Vita games. They were a bunch of them, not all of them, but most of them were like $7.99 each. And I was immediately like, what? That's amazing. Okay, hang on, let me see what's there. And there were like 4 or 5 that I was like, oh, I would totally buy that for $8. And I put them in my shopping cart, but then when I went to check out, I put 4 in my shopping cart, and of the 4, only 1 of them was available for shipping. The other 3 you had to go and pick up in a store, but there were no stores near me anywhere that actually had that. And I thought, well, of course, it's used, so they're not going to necessarily have it in stock, because who knows if somebody sold it to them. But like, nothing was in stock at any of the stores near me. And I mean, there's like a half a dozen Best Buys in Manhattan and Brooklyn, so I should be able to find something, right? No. I thought, well, maybe they just don't they don't keep track of the used inventory as well as they keep track of the new stock. But I went to like 2 different Best Buys, and one had like 1 MLB game used, and the other one had no used games at all. So, but if you have a Vita and you have a Best Buy and they happen to have used games, check and see if they might be $7.99, because it's a really good price. And they were selling some really good games. Like, I was going to pick up Persona 4 for $8. I thought, what the hell? But they don't have, nobody has anything in stock, so. But I guess they're just trying to get rid of their Vita stock. I don't know if they'll put new Vita games on sale as well, because that would be acceptable too. If they're just trying to clear the shelves of Vita stuff, because nobody's buying Vita games. I would buy Vita games, and but nobody else is. And it's a shame, because I think the Vita is a really, really, really good piece of hardware. Like, I think it's fantastic. It took me a while to get one, because it took a while for there to be games that I really wanted for it. But now that I have it, it's great. And I've played a lot of great games on it. And I love the fact that you can get like a console experience in a handheld. That's phenomenal to me. I mean, the 3DS is great, but it's not really, you know, console quality experience as much as the Vita is. You know, the Vita is like amazing. Like, I played that Assassin's Creed game, and it was like playing Assassin's Creed on your console. But Sony just kind of biffed it, and now everyone's selling off stock. But on the plus side, you should be able to get some Vita games for wicked cheap, and there's quite a few really good ones. I know they have a bunch of RPGs, which I will probably now end up picking up when they go on the sale for really cheap. It's a shame, because it is a good piece of hardware, and I wish that it had been successful, because if they could have made more games, like, if the system had been successful and games like Assassin's Creed would have been more successful, then they would have made more games like that, and I feel like you would have gotten portable handheld Vita versions of console games like Assassin's Creed, or like, I don't know, like first-person shooters, like, I mean, maybe you could have done Mass Effect for it, you know, I mean, that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like if it was successful, you would have gotten more and more. Like, maybe they could have done a Bioshock game, you know, like, because it can do first-person shooters really well with the 2 thumbsticks. And then it would have been even bigger, you know, because you would have had people saying, oh, it's successful, let me develop games for it. And then it would have become even more and more successful, like the 3DS did. But the 3DS didn't have, you know, the 3DS did succeed because people went to develop for it, and the Vita sadly just fell by the wayside. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to talk about this week is, speaking of PlayStation, I did happen to check out the first episode of Powers, which is an original series being produced for PlayStation Network. It's based on a comic book, which I have a few of the graphic novels of that comic book, and it's quite good. It's an adult take on superheroes, and in this universe, there are people with superheroes. They call them powers, and they're like celebrities, and everybody loves them and adores them, and it's like a ground-level view of the superpowers, focusing on a couple of cops, one of whom used to have powers, and how they deal with the crimes and the powers, and how it all happens, and whatever. And it's funny because I know that these more independent series, not on broadcast TV, like you've got Amazon is making TV, you've got Netflix making TV, so PlayStation wants to get in on the game. The problem is that, like, I've seen some Netflix shows and I've seen some Amazon shows, and those seem to have more of a budget. Powers is very low budget, which is unfortunate because you're dealing with superpowers, so that tends to look a little bit cheesy in places, in a lot of places. The effects are not, you know, super awesome. And, I mean, if this was on network television, obviously they would have had a bigger budget and you could maybe get better effects. The other thing that irked me was that they're cursing, like, a lot, and it's borderline to the point where they seem to be cursing just because they can, and it doesn't always feel natural. Sometimes it does. And the other thing that irks me, the lead actress is terrific, and I love it because the character she's playing from the comics is not black. That woman was white in the comics, but she's fantastic, so I understand fully why they cast this actress, because she's terrific. The lead guy, on the other hand, his accent is really distracting, because he's trying to do an American accent, and it's not always great. And, but the universe is solid, because it's from the comics, so, like, the world they have to work in is great, but the writing and some of the acting and the special effects are not quite up to par. Yeah. And the problem also is that it's on the PlayStation Network, so they made the first episode available. You can view it, like, on, like, YouTube or something. Like, you can find that online easy. But the following episodes are only if you're are on PlayStation Network. As a PlayStation Plus member, I can watch them all. I don't know if I will. I might give it a couple more episodes and see. But there is kind of a glut of superhero television right now, and I feel like you've got to do something different to make me want to watch it. Like, I don't care about Arrow, because Arrow is like the grim and gritty street level crime, and I couldn't even get through the first season. I know everybody says the second season gets better, but I couldn't even get through the first to get to the second. But I love The Flash, because The Flash embraces the superhero, and everyone has powers, and it's very exciting, and they're just going for it. And they're not trying to be realistic, you know? Like, Arrow is like, oh no, we're serious. And I'm like, no, 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 I want my comics to be fun, come on. Which is why I'm hopeful for Supergirl, because she has powers, and there's no way around that. So you're going to have people with powers, and there's going to be lots of fun superhero action, so that should be good. Although, I don't need powers, because while Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is now introducing lots of superpowers to the show, which helps, because it was a little bit okay. It was just always okay. It was never great. The first season was a little sketchy, and then it got much better. But it's still a little, but that Agent Carter was so fantastic, and there were like no powers at all in that. But that was my favorite. And in fact, Agent Carter is the one of these series where when they put that out on Blu-ray, I will buy that. Like, I'm not buying Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't want to watch that again. But Agent Carter, that was a great little limited series. I would love it to come back, but if it doesn't, I will take this one season and I'll put it on the shelf with a bunch of the other one-season wonders that were just perfect and awesome, and I will treasure it. What are your favorite superhero shows? Let me know in the comments. Just don't tell me to check out Arrow, because I really, really can't. And like, when they had the Flash and Arrow crossover, and Arrow was guest starring on the Flash, and they played up the dichotomy of he's all grim and serious and gritty, and Flash is all woohoo, this is fun, I have superpowers. And I'm like, exactly, that's why I don't like your show, and that's why I like his show. So that's it for this week. Come back next week. I believe I may have a new game to talk about. We shall see. And tune in next week and find out. Bye!